One county in each state is being chosen to conduct a training session entitled Justice in Our Communities: Investigation and Prosecution of Child Abuse for the National District Attorneys Association. This year, Ross County has been chosen from Ohio's 88 counties to host the event. Julie Oates is with the Child Protection Center, and she joins us now in our studio. Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the conference will be held November 15th through 17th, so that's next week in Chillicothe. Yes. What will take place there?
Well, we're very fortunate that the National District Attorneys Association has selected us. We are having agencies with all of our multidisciplinary team members, which means prosecutors, law enforcement, children's services, medical professionals, and anybody else who works with children who have been abused, whether it's being sexual or physical abuse. And we're getting some updated training on ways to investigate, ways to prosecute, ways to be trauma-focused when we're working with our children. And it's open to any of the agencies that do work with children.
So you just touched on this a little bit now, but who all then will be attending the conference?
It is open for anybody who does work with child abuse cases. Many of the counties have child advocacy centers, which is what the Child Protection Center is, and that involves law enforcement, children's services workers, prosecutors, medical, specially trained medical professional, whether you're a PSANE or a SANE, mental health professionals, anybody who takes care of working and helping the children heal.
What do you hope attendees take away from the conference next week? Well,
there are many things that I know they can take away from it, but one of the main things that I would like to see happen is the teams work better, having a better understanding and a trauma-focused care perspective, working with children who have been abused, and also gather up more tools to help with prosecution, successful prosecution, and being able to work as a whole entity, as a team versus separate entities.
Well, how big of a problem is child abuse, especially in Southeast Ohio and then, Ross County where the event's being held?
Sure. Well, the national statistic is that 1 out of 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys are sexually abused before they're 18. And we also recognize that 87% of all perpetrators are somebody you know or in your family. And that's just dealing with sexual abuse. And we know that physical abuse is far more statistics. So we know that it reaches our communities. Whether we talk about it as a community is a different story, but we know that it does impact our communities. And with it impacting our communities, we know it costs over $104 million a year in just care for an individual. So we know that it hits us economically, but it also hits us emotionally and politically and any realm that we touch.
Now, you just touched briefly, on the importance of communities, but how can communities work together to help combat child abuse and help, you and your organization fight the problem?
Well, one of the main things that I would like our communities to recognize is that it isn't, although we say it's a taboo subject, it's not taboo if you look at the statistics. And so we as communities have to make a choice on whether we are going to allow it to happen. If we choose not to, then involving ourselves in prevention programs, there's a national program, Stewards of Children, that is in Ohio, and you can contact the child advocacy centers. They provide it. Athens has a child advocacy center that is very good at promoting prevention, but also being aware that with the statistic of 87% of perpetrators are people we know, that it is common that perpetrators walk amongst us, and that we have to be aware and be able to decrease that by being aware of the abuse.
All right, well, Ms. Oates, thank you so much for being here this evening and speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.